Welcome back to Morning Brew with the Homeowners. I'm your host, Dmitry Lipinski. Today in the studio with me, Randy Hurtado. Randy is a contractor in Texas, and Jason Reisman. Jason is a contractor in Florida. Today we are discussing reasonable down payments, progress payments, final payments to the contractors. This is the best show in the industry when it comes to dealing with the contractors. If you're the homeowner, we're trying to help you make the best decisions and take the stress out of it. Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good
Morning,
morning.
Dmitry.
So let's get right into it. So, reasonable down payments. We do have couple laws in this country where contractors cannot charge whatever they want to charge as a down payment, and most scams happen when a contractor takes more money they needed to do the project, and then they goes to homeowners, and homeowners don't know how to get the money back, how to pay for materials. um, Guide me through your states, Florida and Texas. Where do you see on the streets how much contractors usually take as a down payment for their work?
So in Florida, we hear a lot of 50% is what a lot of roofing contractors require as a down payment. For us, it's a $500 down payment for your average job, which is 17K to 30K is an average job in Florida. And so for us, it's a $500 deposit. That's in order for us to file the permits and get through that process.
Texas is wild. It's wild, wild west, I hear. Randy, what do you see in Texas?
Well, same. I mean, we see people that, and most of the time, they tend to be the topic of a news story of taking 50%. But in our particular company, if it's retail, then we set it right at about 30%, 25 to 30%. Um, but we have done less, obviously. At the end of the day in Texas, you just have to exchange dollars with a customer and a signed contract in order for it to be legally binding. And so, but with our insurance claims, which is a majority of what we do, up front, we only ask for the deductible. Main purpose behind that is when we go to release the depreciation on the back end, the insurance company wants proof that the customer paid their deductible. And so that's the easiest way to show that is just to make the down payment their deductible, and it's a separate check entirely. So it's pretty minimal.
Thank you for sharing. What do you think about California? California has I mean, I think they protect the consumers the most. It's a 10% in California. And I talked to a lot of contractors who, you know, totally fine with it. I think California, when it comes to legislation, it's probably on top of the list. Do you think they're overprotective? Because contractors also need cash to run their businesses. And 10%, in my opinion, on a lot of projects is just not enough to sustain the cash flow. Maybe it's a good thing on the scam side, but on the business side, it's got to be hard. Can you sustain your businesses with only 10%? If all your sales, all your jobs were only giving you 10%, how would it affect your business?
For me, I think it depends on the size of the job. The bigger the job, the more materials that are up front, you're going to have a down payment. So in California, maybe the typical roof is more than you're going to see in the rest of the country. But for what we see is the guys that rip the homeowners off are typically the ones that do the biggest down payment and don't show up. So for me, I like the protection, and I think it depends on the dollar value.
Yeah,
Randy?
no, I certainly agree with assessment. I think the bigger question that's not really being asked here is why there are so many homeowners that are getting ripped off, because there is, the contractor obviously that is doing the ripping off is at fault. We're not going to take the victim out of this situation. We know who they are, but I think homeowners can do a much better job in vetting the contractors that they work with. I think oftentimes, especially in storm markets, they get some guy that gets in front of them at their front door and scares the crap out of them. They've never filed a claim before. They sign a contract and they ask for a bunch of money up front. And all this person's looking to do is just get their house fixed. And so they make decisions sometimes that they probably wouldn't make in other areas of their life. And they don't take the time to vet the company to find out that maybe they've changed their name to a different company name 3 or 4 times, or their ratings all over the internet are terrible. And so consumers can definitely help themselves by just taking the time, making sure they're dealing with reputable companies, then the amount that they pay up front tends to not be as relevant, though, you know, in our particular case, we're a $40 million operation. We're doing a lot of jobs. And if I only took 10% on every single job, that would be a lot of outbound cash without not a whole lot of inbound. And so it'd be a cash flow issue potentially, but it's all about how you set your draw schedules up. If you're asking for that initial commitment just to make sure everything's binding, and then your draw schedule is based on when you incur hard costs, then it's not going to affect your business if you're doing your business correctly.
I started a business by working for a remodeling company in Atlanta, Georgia. It was over 15 years ago. And actually, it was one of the very first lessons I've learned of what not to do. My boss was robbing Peter to pay Paul for so long. We were talking about $50,000, $70,000 kitchen remodels. We were talking about adding levels to the houses, like removing roofs and adding. And he was charging 150, $200,000 at that time. I thought about it like it's a lot of money. And then he files bankruptcy. I came home and I said, I'll never work for anyone else. And I never did. But I remember the stories of, projects we could not finish because when you file a bankruptcy, you can affect a lot of homeowners. And we were dealing with a lot of progress payments. And with the progress payments, we'll talk about it in a second after the break. But with the progress payments, you still need to apply to that project. You cannot just take this progress payment and finish the last job you didn't start. And you'll see a lot of contractors in remodeling space who are managing five, six projects at a time with a very small profit margins, and they're just don't know how to manage their cash. They're desperate. They're waiting for that next check, and it's already spent before it's even written to them. Very sad situation, but I've been taking 50% down payments just because in Minnesota, it's common. And usually 50% in the roofing space, it's less than labor and materials to do the roof. So our profit margins, gross profit margins are 30%, 40%, right? So you make money with the final payment, not with the down payment. And sometimes, though, homeowners, and this is my question to you. So let's say you take 30% or 50%, but it's insurance claim and the homeowner have entire amount already in the pocket. Sometimes people actually sign off entire, check. And I think it's super dangerous, like with the most dangerous situation. Here, insurance already paid me, take it, install the roof. Now, what leverage do you have in the case of conflict? How do you deal with those situations when you already have insurance proceeds and homeowner offers to you?
Right. Well, we specifically ask the customers in those cases where they want to just sign the check over to us. We ask them to deposit the check and from the insurance company and then write us a check for the amount that we require down, just to keep everything level. It's consistent within our CRM. There's not really a reason. When we get to the point where we're executing the main portion of the claim, which is the roof, that's when we collect their what is commonly known as the ACV, or actual cash value portion. That's the money that the insurance company did send them up front. So now they've paid their deductible. They've now, at that point when the roof is going on, they've paid what the insurance company paid up front. And the only thing now left to do is to complete the work so that we can release the depreciation from the insurance company to get paid in whole, paid in full. And that process seems to work really well for us. Customer doesn't feel like they're giving way too much up front. They're giving money when the work is actually being executed, and then they're being asking to pay the final amount once we've completed all the work.
Hey,
Jason?
Dimitri, I think you bring a great point up. Like the most times that I've been scammed from a homeowner are when they got a check from their insurance company and actually never paid the roofer or the contractor. So, most of the time when people are taking out of their own account and don't even have an insurance check, usually don't have any issues. It's typically a homeowner that did get a check from insurance that actually tends to keep the money and not pay the contractor. So we run into that a lot. And I know in my case, our deductibles are a little bit higher here in Florida at the moment, but as far as deposits down, we do the job typically in Florida in a day. So we don't have a lot of cash flow issues in our area because of it's so fast, the time frame of the job. And I think that throws a big wrench into it. If it's a long job, you're going to want draws or you're going to want some more money up front. And when it comes to metal roofing, the material you can't take back. And so we have the deposit is the cost of the material. So I think it depends on, is it commercial, residential, insurance, or the time frame of the job is what can affect the contractor's cash flow.
Thank you for sharing. We'll be back right after the break. We'll discuss progress payments and what to do if your contractor is ghosting you after you gave them money. This show is sponsored by Contractor Directory. If you ever hired the wrong contractor, you know it can turn into a nightmare. Directory helps you avoid all of that. Every pro is background checked for criminal and financial red flags. And with a $20,000 guarantee on every job, you are protected if anything goes wrong. It's totally free. Just head to directory.com or download the app from the App Store. Directory, the safest way to hire a contractor. Welcome back to the Morning Brew with the homeowners. Today we're discussing down payments, progress payments, final payments, what to do when you pay the contractor that check and he's ghosting you. He's not answering phone calls. He's not answering emails. When do you panic? How much time do you give a contractor to get back to you after money is exchanged? To me personally, it's a red flag. You want to, depending what company you hired. If it's a bigger company, I would be blowing up their phones. I would be, trying to reach as many people as possible. But if it's a smaller contractor, you're one man show, you're chucking a truck. Now you probably have very limited resources to reach that guy. Guys, what would you do if I know you're the contractors, but if you hire another contractor, your plumber, your, AC guy, your garage door guy, and you gave them money, he's ghosting you, what do you do?
I think, like Randy always says, is what you do before. Like, you never make a panic decision or a fearful one to hire a contractor. And I would be looking them up before I ever hire them. Better Business Bureau, reviews, obviously the directory. But the biggest thing for me is, are they active on their social media? Are they very active in the community? Because honestly, if somebody's not responding and I'm a customer, that's where I'm going to, put my view on and make sure that I can find them, because none of us want that on social media or in our community, a bad look on us. So for me, those are the key things that I look for: is how active are they on those areas. And obviously Google reviews are big in nowadays, but mostly like Better Business Bureau, directory, all of those places. I'm going to look that contractor up before I ever sign anything with them.
Jason,
Yeah.
my question to you is, when do you write a bad review if he's ghosting you? When it's too early? Like you don't hear 3 days from the contractor. You gave him $10,000. Are you gonna write a review? Are you one of those?
No, I wait to write my review. It takes a while for me to write it. I want to get the work done first, and then I depend on how I'm going to write the review. It's
But
just like,
he's ghosting you. You wanna alert him. You'll delete it later. It's like, hey, gave you money, because usually before a company goes out of business, they're gonna collect a lot of reviews towards the end. Gave them a check, never heard from them, and that's where you really stop that behavior. Uh, I think
that's
it's
a
better.
good point. Yeah, so for me, all of our bad Google reviews go directly to my inbox first. So I
Yeah.
would hope that most owners would be like that. So if you want to get a hold of me, that's typically the number one email that I'm checking every day. So it is a good way to get a hold of them. I think social media is a big one. But you look for guys like me and Randy, we're all over social media talking about what we do and how we do it. And it's a great place for a customer to go and put a concern on there. We don't want that, and so that's where I would look to actually see if they're involved.
Randy, what about you?
Yeah, much like the philosophy that you've used with customers on directory, that in the few cases where you've had to actually pay, I look at those as opportunities to show our customer base the side of our business they don't often see, which is when and if we get it wrong, how we respond to it. The worst thing you can do is respond to a review negatively instead of trying to understand where they're coming from. In this particular case, if they give a bad review in 3 days of you not returning a call, That from a contractor standpoint, as busy as we are, that could be a red flag. But in particular, in our company, communication is the biggest thing my guys will get a butt chewing about. Is if I get a call in and the customers, I haven't heard from my contractor, what's the status of my job? That's a big no-no. And so I think it speaks to what Jason said earlier, is know who you're working with, because you know we're all over social media telling people how we run our business. Like, our competitors could probably learn a couple of things as well from those posts, but customers more important. They'll see what's important to us and how we run our business. So the reality is you probably will not have that problem if you're choosing the right contractor.
I've got one last leverage point that works really well, Dimitri. So, like in our area, you're pulling a permit with a city or a local government area. And so that's the best way is you can call them up and they will hold any more permits from that contractor unless they resolve the issue. So that's always a good leverage point for a homeowner.
Love it. Love it. That's a great idea.
I want to talk about elephant in the room here. In this country, a lot of contractors seek bankruptcy protection. I recently heard a story from Dan Young, my good friend from Iowa. He hired garage door guy, gives him a check, and right after he cashed the check, the guy files bankruptcy, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of contractors do file bankruptcy, even though they're not bankrupt. I dealt with one of the directory claims early on. The guy was doing $2 million in business, right? $2 million company. If you run $2 million business and you have $70,000 mistake, $100,000 in debt, wherever the case is, you're not bankrupt. You can choose to to file bankruptcy, but you're not bankrupt yet. You can easily come out of that hole. You're in a hole. You have to fix a lot of things. Maybe, you know, change your diet on rice and beans for a couple months and lose a few pounds and work extra hard, but you're not bankrupt. Unfortunately, contractors who got in a financial mess know that they're in a mess. And where's this fine line between being complete fraud, knowing that you're going to close your doors 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now? Don't let your sales reps, don't tell anyone, but just keep selling, keep lying to people, keep collecting checks, and then file a bankruptcy, screwing your lost customers. We did a story last year in not far from here. $17 million company files bankruptcy. Their last couple hundred clients actually got screwed. So what are you gonna do? Like, and pretty much intentionally, they knew they're going out of business. Ownership knew. They just keep selling until last moment. How sad is that?
Very.
So how
Yeah.
do you see and hear those stories in your markets? Is it popular in Texas? Is it popular in Florida? Do you see those kind of deals? Because what I see is contractors, especially roofers, they got in financial mess, they file bankruptcy, and they start new businesses under wives' names, partners' names. We see that all the time.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that matters how long they've been in business. That's one of the best ways to look at that is how long they've been in business. A lot of new companies will change the name every 2 years, and that's how they offset the bankruptcy. But a big thing in Florida is you want to get a lien release. You want to get that from the distribution so that if the contractor doesn't pay his distribution bill, it doesn't come back on you as a homeowner because that happens all the time here in Florida. So upon final payment, you're going to ask for a lien release, which means they can't come back for you for the material that was never paid by the contractor. That's a big thing here in Florida.
Yeah, unfortunately, just the opposite is the case here in Texas, which I don't agree with. Obviously, as somebody who pays his bills, I think that the distributor should have the right to lien wherever the material was used. And in Texas, they don't have that on the residential side. You can do it on the commercial side, but on the residential side, uh, and I believe, gosh, back when I got into the business, I think you could do it, and I think they changed the law since. But yeah, it's an unfortunate reality is for the homeowners is that's not an option on the residential side.
I want to give advice to the homeowners listening to us, exactly what Jason just said. Request a lien release. Know who is working on your property. Maybe become even friends with the crews, with the subs, with the employees. This is how I learned it years ago. It was 2008, 2009. It's got to be 2009. I worked for the company who filed bankruptcy later, and at the end, I was not getting paid like $4 or $5,000, I believe. And this is how I learned what lien release was. We were working on this big remodel, kitchen remodel, living room remodel, like $70,000-$80,000 project. The business owner got a bike, like motorcycle, from the owners as a form of payment, like Yamaha or something, and but they never gave him title. At the end, he still owes them a lot of work. They owe him some money, and they said they're not going to give him title for the bike. And this is actually what was the story. I did not know what lien release was, but his wife reached out to me and said, Dmitry, we need to get paid on this job. And the owner told us they're not giving us title for the bike until we get lien release from Dmitry. I did their floors, and I did a lot of I did their cabinets and their floors. So I was his employee, but on paper I was a sub. I was the 1099 employee, and the homeowner was smart enough to demand lien release from me. I would never file a lien because I did not know what lien was. I was 3 years in the United States. I was like brand new, fresh from Russia, from Siberia, and now I'm getting all my education. And I settled, I think, for $1,500 on the $4,000 I believe they owed me. I'm like, sure, I'll do whatever. The the sad story was, his wife, the contractor's wife, was pregnant with triplets. And the business owner was so, I guess, embarrassed about the whole situation. He ran away from all his problems. So it was so bad. She did not have insurance on her car, and she got an accident, totaled it. So she was driving his truck, like his Ford F-250, settling his debt, including with myself. I was dealing with a wife pregnant with the triplets, 8 months pregnant, dealing with it. And I would talk to the guy. We never have any conflicts, never have any disputes. I'm like, I'll do whatever. I'll go finish those jobs wherever I can. Last few weeks, I was the only guy on the jobs on the project. That's why homeowners loved me. We have one lawyer, so two lawyers, couple, husband and wife. We installed this washer and dryer. He found guy to do it off Craigslist. The worst job ever. So the dryer was on top of the washer, not connected properly. She's also pregnant. Everybody was pregnant back in the day. All my clients were pregnant at that. And she turns it on, starts shaking, almost fell on her. And I come in, she's like, Dmitry, we're suing your company. Have the owner reach out to me. He was running away. He would not talk to anyone. I was the only one dealing with those projects. This is how I became a contractor, learning what not to do. Guys, when we come back, we will discuss final payments. How much can you hold from your contractor if the job is not completed yet and he's demanding payment, but you want him to complete the project, everything to your specs when we come back? This show is also brought to you by the Good Contractors list in Dallas, Texas. Need a contractor in Dallas? Don't take chances. Use the Good Contractors list. They meet every contractor in person and check their background, so you don't have to worry about anything. And if something goes wrong, you are covered with a $10,000 guarantee. It's free to use. Go to thegoodcontractorlist.com to get started. Welcome back to Home Morning Brew with the homeowners. We are talking about final payments. What's the reasonable amount to hold from your contractor? He finished the roof, he finished that siding, he finished the painting, but you have a touch up list. There's a few things that left to do. Maybe it's a cleaning, maybe they broke something. You're not happy with the things here and there. How much can you hold off? I see homeowners sometimes being extremely unreasonable when you have a $40,000 project and your contractor has been at it for 4 weeks. He sends you invoice, but you have three things that probably a couple $100, maybe some touch-up items, but you holding an entire amount from the contractor until he finishes. In exterior remodeling, often item would be gutters or gutter covers. So a contractor would do roofing, siding, windows, and then everybody's waiting on the gutter guy. I remember when I run my roofing company, we always prioritize insurance claims with the gutters on them because we must get paid. Sometimes it's $20,000 and you have to do $1,000. Guys, what do you think? What's the reasonable amount for touch-ups?
We actually have it in our contract that they can a holdback of no more than 10% of the project. For us, it's either gutters or a garage door that needs to be replaced because sometimes those take 4 to 6 weeks to arrive, and
Window
then
screens.
they have to be painted, and window screens. Those
Yep.
are the bane of my existence. I don't know how many times we've said we're not doing window screens anymore, and then we end up going back to window screens just because the clients are asking for it. But yeah, we'll tend to put and from a consumer standpoint, read what you're signing because it does, if a contractor worth their salt is going to have these type of things in their contract, it's to protect like the scenario that Dmitry gave, where all 99% of the work has been completed. Certainly, a lot of cost has been assumed, and the contractor does need to collect a majority of the payment left. We say 10%, even if it's just screens. 10% of a $50,000 job, $5,000. It's only costing a couple hundred for screens all the way around, but we still allow for that just so that, again, to be responsible business owners, uh, cash flowing our business, making sure that we're not only just covering our bills, but also, being profitable on it. And so, yeah, I think 10% is a reasonable amount. Jason, what do you guys do over there at Eustis?
Yeah, so the normal amount is 10% in Florida. That's what typical construction companies will hold against their subs or homeowners against the contractors. But for me, the most stressful point is when the homeowner has paid me in full and they have an issue that I need to solve. So for me, I always don't like that position because I feel like a lot of pressure because they've already paid me. So I always advise 10% until you're satisfied with the job. I know for us, like we want the customer to sign the satisfaction card, go through everything, make sure they're satisfied before we collect the payment. So we're kind of all up front on that, but I would withhold 10% if I was a customer.
I want to give advice to the homeowners about payment, and then I'll give you a secret weapon that you can use against contractors. Contractors will hate me for it, but first, I want to give you advice. Your contractor works super hard. If you want to be respected and your contractor to treat you well, show respect first. Your contractor probably desperate for payment at the end of the project, not because he's going broke, but if he use good crew needs to get paid, materials needs to get paid. We don't have very big credit lines. Usually it's 30 days. And on a bigger project, especially if we're talking about siding, gutters, or kitchen remodel, I mean, we're waiting for it because if you're the homeowner, if you ever attempted anything at your house, everything takes longer than projected, just the nature of it. I've been contractor for 15 years, and to this day, if I do something in my house, it always takes longer. Stuff breaks, weather, materials, delays. There's so many uncontrollable. So when it comes to the final payment, we all at the last straw. So just showing some grace and just being reasonable with the payment, not ignoring him, not going on vacation for 2 weeks on the cruise on the last day of the project. Think about them too. So my first advice is make sure if you can financially and you generally like your contractor, be proactive, show goodwill, like, hey, I'm the good guy. Contractors love homeowners who pay on time. We're gonna love you more. You're gonna be our favorite homeowners. That's number one. With that being said, here's your secret weapon. I didn't learn it the hard way here in Minnesota. There are a lot of laws in a lot of states. I learned it. I have a very nasty homeowner years ago, and I was finishing his job, and I knew he's gonna be in trouble. I sent him final invoice, and he informed me that legally he can hold my final payment for 30 days, right? So sometimes it's not what I put in contract, it's not what I put in writing or you sign. Sometimes there are local laws. You have to change, you have to check your laws, but there are laws just like you have 3 days right to cancel the contract after you sign it. The same way, and contractor have to put it in writing. There are laws. Check with your state though, but sometimes contractor can't really go after it. They cannot file, for example, lien rights. They cannot file a lien sooner than 30 days after completion. So very similar laws exist, and I'm pretty sure it was the case in Minnesota. At least it was for many years on a final payment. Yes, we agreed. I mean, I cannot even sue you. I cannot even take a legal action up until 30 days. And I know one contractor used it against me in Atlanta, Georgia. Same thing. I was a subcontractor. I built this kitchen cabinet, and the guy pretty much told me, I'm not paying you until 30 days past due. It's and we have a contract, but nothing legally I could do. So know your rules. But again, even if you don't have legal obligations and you don't have to go an extra mile for your contractor, doing something nice for them and meeting him halfway. I agree with the guys. 10% is very reasonable, and I always tell homeowners, look what I've done, and you want to have leverage. The key is leverage. So if we're talking about touch ups, holding $1 or $2,000, it's good. If you think he's not going to come back, you get to keep a couple $1,000. But I don't think it's reasonable keeping $20,000. When he only owes you gutters that worth $1,500 from it.
I can tell you this too, as a consumer who does hire other people to do work that we don't do within our company. In fact, right now we just built our forever home on our land, and I had a pipe fence builder come out. He gave me a price. He started on it. He needed 50% down because the pipe isn't cheap to buy, and he bought all the pipe, all the material for the job up front. So I thought 50% was reasonable. I did vet him. Um, but he said, I don't need the other 50% until the job is completed and you're happy. Love that. In fact, I loved it so much, and I've been following the progress so much that yesterday I gave him, he's not finished yet. He has burned everything in. He's welded everything up. He's painted it, but he still has to put on some paneling and do some fit and finish stuff. I went ahead and gave him 5,000 of what he's due yesterday as a check, and he didn't ask for it. And his face just lit up because you could tell like it's taken him a couple of weeks to finish this project, but he could use it, and
Appreciate
he was doing such a great job. I wanted him to know that I appreciated how good of a job he's doing. It goes a long way too when they're doing the fit and finish at the very end to
Mhm.
keep your contractor happy.
We'll do a better job for sure. We always do. I mean, it just makes us happy, and especially with the guys that work for us too.
Yes.
But I
I mean,
think, Dimitri, expectations, like for the homeowner to set those at the beginning, it really helps the contractor know that you're serious. Like let him know, hey, I'm going to hold 10% until this is done or whatnot, or that you're doing your homework on the liens and stuff like that. So that I want my lien release. You say that at the beginning, and it helps the contractor understand that you're serious about this job, and it'll run off the bad players in the industry too.
I agree 100%. And again, it goes a long way. Homeowners out there listening, keep in mind too, we also rate you. Just like you rate contractors, you give us reviews and stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have websites to rate homeowners. Everybody's talking about it, everybody's demanding. Like for all my tech people, if you want to build a business rating homeowners, it'll be in high demand, but it's probably not going to happen with all the regulations in this country. Nobody likes when people rate them. But in reality, this is how we rate you. Like the only thing we truly care is the payments and how are you with the money. We call contractors because we are contracting to do work for the price. We buy materials, we hire crews, we clear our schedules, and the only thing you have to do is pay us for that contract. And when you are funny about payments, about down payments, and you can tell during the initial estimate processes, some people will just be hard because to be honest with you, every contractor knows those type of people who just hard from the beginning to the end with their money. Oh, I'm not going to pay you down payment until materials are on site, or I'm not going to give you down payment until this. Or, if you're like that, guess what? You're killing the drive, even of the best contractor in town. You pretty much telling us that you're not going to be easy about it and we'll have to fight for every dollar. And this is not what this agreement is about. We want to do the good work, but we also want to be respected and get paid on time. And I think it's reasonable for both sides. So treat your payments like something that earns your respect and your reputation in our eyes too. Do you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
And there's just something about intention. Sometimes people say, and also it goes other way. Like the worst customers, they just not only they don't care in the beginning, oftentimes they ask us to, for urgency. Like my roof is leaking, do it here and now. And we drop everything and do it. And at the end, we have to chase them. We have to go after them. And, it's the worst thing is when we have to spend weeks and weeks uh, with a homeowner who's just ghosting us. Talking about contractors who are ghosting homeowners, think about homeowners ghosting contractors. Nobody likes those. When we come back, we're going to discuss what to do if your contractor comes back and he does not like your final payment plan and he decides to take the job in his own hands and take his work back, take his kitchen cabinets and roof back because you did not pay him in full. Vandalism, non-payment issues, disputes towards the end of the job when we come back. This show is sponsored by Contractor Directory. If you ever hired the wrong contractor, you know it can turn into a nightmare. Directory helps you avoid all of that. Every pro is background checked for criminal and financial red flags. And with a $20,000 guarantee on every job, you are protected if anything goes wrong. It's totally free. Just head to directory.com or download the app from the App Store. Directory, the safest way to hire a contractor. And we are back. What to do if you're the contractor and your homeowner is not paying you? You've tried everything, you have some kind of dispute, something they don't like. Can you just go and take your work back? It's probably the most controversial topic today. A lot of contractors treat their work as I did it, I built it, I can take it back if I want to. No, you really can't, but a lot of people try. So let's talk about vandalism. Homeowner, you don't pay your contractor. Contractor just go all nuts and goes after you. Randy, Jason, what do you guys think? What do you see around you? Do you hear those stories?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You see them,
Yeah.
they're viral on YouTube.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
number
are.
one thing for homeowner is to video it, which is what they're doing on YouTube at the moment. So it is vandalism from the contractor.
Yes, absolutely. There are legal ways to address this, and going and taking a mallet to their shower and their toilet, or taking what is the concrete, the famous concrete one where they're out there just destroying the lady's concrete. Um, Look, at the end of the day, we get it, because if you worked for 2 weeks for your boss, clocked in, clocked out every day, and at the end of 2 weeks he told you he wasn't paying you, if you could physically take your work back, you probably would, but it's just not legal, and it's not a smart approach. But like Jason said, just record it. Don't try to stop them. Call the police. I mean, it's not only vandalism, but they're also on your property, unwelcomed. But I think I can understand though the mindset is just an extreme.
I covered this topic in my YouTube channel last week, and I was reading comments, and there's so many comments, and
Hmm.
people just go on and on. They're like, "Hey, if I go to Walmart and I steal $500 worth of merchandise, walk away, I'm getting arrested. Why homeowner is not getting arrested? Because contractors want justice too." And my advice to the homeowner is to understand it. Don't get it to that point because it's one thing when they're just take their work, but what if they do something dumber? What if they become violent with you, right? We don't want that. But with that, here's it's not legal advice, but I did ask my lawyer, so it's kind of legal breakdown. Once work is installed, it becomes the homeowner's property. This is your property now. And it sounds almost like a loophole. Like, oh, you think you can take it, but you really can't because it's my property now. And destroying it is criminal, not civil. So contractors can get arrested. It's not the same as you just have some kind of financial dispute over the work. You literally taking someone else. And the craziest one for me is the tile one because yes, you are taking your tile, but you smashing on walls. It's deeper than that. Now you're literally destroying something you didn't build. It's the house. But what advice, guys, would you give to the contractor in that mindset? contractor who's trying to do something like that?
Yeah, for me, you have a responsibility to be a professional. That's why we're a contractor, to
Mm.
follow the laws and go forward with the lien process and do it legally. And I think that separates the difference between good contractors and bad ones. Although watching those videos, there was some satisfaction there or homeowners that didn't pay me in the past. So that's how I live it out, is through those YouTube videos. But on a professional stance, I follow the law, and I feel like that's the best way I can do it, especially for the people that work for me too, to set a good example. And to me, that's why we're contractors.
Yeah, unfortunately, that hasn't happened to us a whole lot. And so when it has happened, we followed the legal process. If you're a contractor out there and you find that you're finding all the customers that do this to you, it's probably because you're in that rat race to the bottom on your bids, and that's exactly the type of contractor you're attract or customer you're attracting. So keep that in mind too, that sometimes, in fact, most of the time, a race to the bottom is not good for your business, and it's not going to attract the right customers. And this is what you almost did it to yourself. If you're getting those customers all the time, it's probably where you're at in your business, and you might want to value providing a good service to homeowners that can see that value back over just winning jobs.
I want to give advice for the first time on today's show to the actual contractor. So if you're the contractor and your homeowner is not paying you, and you know that you did everything per contract, like if you would show this job to the focus group of 100 people, everybody would side with you. Like, yeah, cabinets look good, drywall works good, concrete patio work, like whatever you did, if you have no disputes over quality of the work, and this is contingent on that, because if there's disputes, it's completely different story, right? Like, I didn't hire you for this, right? But if it's just, I don't want to pay you, you can do to the homeowner the same thing that they're doing to, like, the reason they're filming you because they're going to take you to court, you violating it's, as far as I know, it's not illegal to shame the homeowner who's not paying your bill. I would use social media if I would be a contractor. If homeowner would not pay me, just like back in the day, they have a shame wall in the grocery stores. They would put a cancel checks, people who don't pay, right? Because think about it. Homeowner is not paying you. That homeowner is still going to hire other contractors. And I guarantee you that homeowner is not going to like YouTube video or TikTok or Instagram with you going in front of their house on the, like, don't go in a house or whatever, but you can go and share your story. I'm a contractor. I installed that roof. Homeowner is not paying me. And as a matter of fact, you can literally approach the homeowner, chase them publicly on a public road, and chase them with the camera in your hand. Social media is so powerful this day. Nobody likes public shaming. Nobody likes, I mean, if someone, imagine this, if someone goes like, Dmitry Lipinski does not pay me for my work, and their video would exist somewhere, I would do everything for it to go away. I feel like people are afraid of public humiliation and public disputes, public conflicts more than, courts and court system. And we care less about someone filing lien against our properties. Like, okay, you file a lien, fine, or sue me or whatever. But we're all paranoid about someone, calling us out publicly on social media, because now my relatives can see it, my friends can see it, that I'm this guy who does not pay his contractor. So you can use it. I actually have done it one time where homeowner wrote us. I did it one time. It
I
was
watched it.
2016 or 2017. I have a very nasty homeowner who, like, it was actually a duplex, two couples, and one of them was a big yelper, and she wrote us 1-star review saying that we installed a bad roof. I went on the street next to the house and I said, "Hey, that's Atlas shingles that I installed. It's the best. It was a historic building, so we could not alter gutters. We could not add insulation. In wintertime, they have condensation in the attic. Nothing that I could change. I actually legally could not change the roof system because it was grandfathered in. So we got a regular permit, that historic district permit in St. Paul, and in her review she said, time to sue this contractor and write a BBB and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, find one contractor in this town who find one problem with his job. So I did a public video response, and I replied to her comment on Yelp. Here's my video response. I'm not gonna let anyone just bash my name saying I have a bad job. And I got paid on it, but I defending myself publicly because publicly they were shaming me for being a bad contractor, and I knew the roof was in excellent shape. So sometimes you have to take it to the social media. Sometimes you have to go and say, "Here's the story. Here's my side of the story," and it's legal. Last time I checked, and it works because everybody afraid of negative story on social media against them. What do you think about that, guys?
For
Yeah.
me, I'm not sure the legal process on that. I think, like, for me, I'm always looking forward to serve the next customer that wants me there, that wants to pay me, and I kind of put my efforts in that direction and move on and let the legal process determine what happens from there. But unfortunately, in Florida, we have inspections, lots of inspections, and so a lot of times I bring the inspector in and get him involved. And when he's signing off on the job and approving it, at that point, he's qualified to tell whether it's a good job or not versus the homeowner that doesn't have the knowledge of it. So that's usually the area that I'll go into and get the inspector out there. But honestly, like, I'm always looking forward to serving a customer that wants to pay me and wants me on their job site. That's where I put my attention.
Great
Absolutely.
answer.
Great answer. I agree. Like, but with that being said, we're talking about sometimes very big, large properties. I talked to a
Oh, yeah.
contractor in Chicago last week. He's owed $80,000 on 20 properties. Big landlord, a lot of rental homes, 20 state farm insurance claims. And at the end, $80,000 that he owes them, it was all like the guy got paid on all of his properties, right? Like it's all insurance money. And you know how long it takes to settle 20 state farm claims. At the end, it was all his profit. And he was in big company too. And he was like, Dmitry, I'm so fed up with this guy. Like, I'm okay going to jail, but I'm gonna go take a couple of roofs back just to prove my point. Like, I want to give this guy bad publicity. And I told him, give him bad publicity by telling his story. You can go on a podcast today and especially if someone big in the community and does stuff like that, right? I mean, Donald Trump has horrible reputation for not paying his bills and his subs, and it's chasing him because those people are speaking up. So it does work. Amazing show today, guys. Thank you for being here. I hope that you will never have a dispute with your contractor. I hope that you'll treat him well and he'll do everything he promised you to do. If not the case, reach out to us. Maybe we'll interview you, share your story if you need our help. Text me 612-558-4881. We'll bring you to the show, give you advice, and hopefully help you.